Welcome in Craft and Design 3.0. For my dear audience. In this video, I will describe some different and most beautiful ideas of wooden ceiling of roofs or wooden ceiling of walls. So, dear audience, a ceiling is an overhead interior surface that covers the upper limits of a room. So it is not generally considered a structural element but a finished surface concealing the underside of the roof structure or the floor of a story above. So ceiling can be decorated to taste and there are many fine examples of frescoes and artwork on ceiling, especially in religious building or some other rooms. So ceiling can also be the upper limit of tunnel and other different rooms. So the most common type of ceiling is the dropped ceiling, which is suspended from structural element above panels of drywall or fastened either directly to the ceiling joists or to few or layers of moisture proof plywood which are then attached to the joists. So pipework or ducts can be run in the gap above the ceiling and insulation and fireproofing material can be placed here. In alternatively, dear audience, we can say that ceiling may be spray painted instead, leaving the pipework and ducts exposed but painted and using stray foam. So, a subset of the drop ceiling is the suspended ceiling, wherein a network of aluminium struts and as opposed to drywall are attached to the joists, forming a series of rectangular spaces. So individual pieces of cardboard and are then placed inside the bottom of those pieces so that the outer side of the cardboard interspersed and with aluminium rails is seen as a ceiling from below. So this makes it relatively easy to repair the pipes and insulation behind the ceiling, since all that it is necessary is to lift off and the cardboard rather than digging through the drywall and then replacing it. Other type of ceiling include the cathedral ceiling. So the concave or barrel-shaped ceiling, the stretched ceiling, and the coffered ceiling and coving often link the ceiling to the surrounding walls. So ceiling can play a part in reducing fire hazard, and a system is available for rating the fire resistance of drop ceiling. So, dear audience, if we talk about its type, then ceiling are classified according to their appearance and construction. So, a cathedral ceiling I also describe in my video. It is a much interesting. So, cathedral ceiling is a tall ceiling area similar to those in a church. So, in many hotels and other different rooms or halls or other different places. So a drop ceiling is one in which the finished surface is constructed anywhere from a few inches or centimeter to several feet or a few meters below the structure above it. So, dear audience, this may be done for aesthetic purpose, such as achieving a desirable ceiling height, or practical purposes such as acoustic damping or providing a space for HVAC or piping. So, an inverse of this would be a raised floor, concave or barrel shaped ceiling is carved or rounded upward, usually for visual or acoustical value, while a coffered ceiling is divided into grade of recessed square or octagonal panels, also called a lacunar ceiling. So, cove ceiling uses a curved plaster transition between wall and ceiling. So, it is named for cove molding, molding with a concave curve. So, a stretched ceiling uses a number of individual panels using material such as PVC fixed to perimeter rail. So, dear audience, if we talk the elements, then we can see ceiling frequently been decorated with fresco paint and mosaic tiles and other surface treatment, and mm, especially when we talk about a wooden an artificial manner we can make not also a ceiling point but different decorative purpose like as a flowering or other in a pot which is downward upward and grow a different artificial plant in that roofs for beautiful or beauteous purpose. So, dear audience, if we talk about while hard to execute at least in at one place, a decorated ceiling has advantage that is it is largely protected from damage by fingers and dust, and also it can be a very cooling environment in our rooms or in our halls or in our schooling life when we take a roof without iron. But when we use a wooden ceiling point, then it can be a cooling because it can be a well absorbed of heat and well absorbed of sun rising rays, ultraviolet rays. So, dear audience, in the past, however, this was more than compensated for by the damage from smoke from candle or fireplace. Many historic buildings have celebrated ceiling. Perhaps the most famous is the Sistine Chapel ceiling by Michelangelo, and ceiling height may have psychological impact, particularly low ceiling. Dear audience, the most common ceiling that contribute to fire resistant rating in commercial and residential construction is the dropped ceiling. In the case of a dropped ceiling, it can be the rating is achieved by the entire system, which is both structural above from which the ceiling is suspended and which could be a concrete floor or a timber floor as well as the suspension mechanism and finally the lowest membrane or drop ceiling. Between the structure that the drop ceiling is suspended from a drop membrane such as a tree bar ceiling or a layer of drywall. There is often some rooms for mechanical and electrical piping, wiring and ducting to run. So, though an audience and independent ceiling, however, can be constructed such that it has a standalone fire resistance rating, such system must be tested without the benefit of being suspended and from a slab above in order to prove that the resulting system is capable of holding itself up. So this type of ceiling would be installed to protect items above from fire. So and understand non-load bearing ceiling undergoing a 4-hour fire test deflection is measured of the I beam. So and Dora steel ceiling after successful fire test being raised from the fluence and rated for an optional host team. And the audience, many other, if we talk about beam ceiling and hammer beam ceiling and hollow core slab, so molding or decorative for decorative purpose, or if we talk about a popcorn ceiling, it can be also beautiful for many countries like as Japan, Australia, UK, and as a Scottish Renaissance painted ceiling and tin ceiling and pacifier protection and fire test and high rib. There are much many ceilings point of view. I think that a good ceiling I can also prescribe in my video. Dear audience, if my video and my ideas are interesting you are so much and you like my video, then like my video and share my video and subscribe my channel. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much.